All right, so we're rounding it into the 11th week of the Athlete Mom Project course. So now I want to kind of start to like reframe for long term, right? Like this was 12 weeks. This was meant to start to create a foundation for you that will serve you for the rest of your life. But this was an intensive thing that was centered around let's start to build these habits that suit your life in a 3 month period. And now we have to start thinking about how do some of these habits and things reflect on us now and how can they serve us down the road. So we have to start thinking long term. As moms and as athletes, as athlete moms, we know how important it is to fuel our bodies. But let's face it, life is busy, schedules change. Sticking to healthy habits can feel overwhelming. I get it. Just because I'm sitting here on this side of the computer explaining this to you doesn't mean that I also don't experience these things. That's why building sustainable choices into your lifestyle is key for long-term success. It's not this all or nothing thing where, oh, I work with a coach, I'm going to do this intensive thing for 2 to 3 months, and then I'm done. And then 6 months go by, and then you do it again. The whole point of this course is to build that foundation. So whether you're working with a coach or not, you know how to continue to see success and results regardless of what season of life you're in. So, I want to talk about like long-term nutrition, because movement might have phases, depending on like if we're training for a race, we're injured, we're pregnant, early postpartum. There's a lot of things that can impact our ability to show up from a movement standpoint. But in general, regardless, to some capacity, we should be able to incorporate movement into our life, right? So if you have a busy week, you don't just cancel on your boss and not show up, right? So we have to not cancel on ourselves. Sometimes that just means pivoting. It doesn't mean not doing the thing. It just means meeting ourselves where we're at. So nutrition isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent. Again, eliminating the all or nothing mindset. Forget the idea that you need to follow a strict plan or avoid certain foods. Of course, there might be foods that might make you feel more optimal, but I'm all about finding that balance, knowing what's optimal and maybe what doesn't make us feel as good, but we like having those things. So we have to understand the consequences of those foods, but it's the balance of what makes sense in our life. So instead, think of nutrition as a way to fuel your body, support your goals, and enjoy your life. Again, enjoy your life. You're not meant to like hate your life by just giving up everything that you like. The best habits are the ones that you can stick to even when life is hectic. So, a big part of creating a sustainable habits is simplifying. Again, like there's a lot of programs out there that's like, here's your macro plan. You need to like weigh all of your food and track everything, and you have to hit every macro specifically. This course was meant to help you build out how to gradually start to build in these habits as opposed to all at once. So again, we talked about calories first because calories is what you weigh, where macros is what you look like and how you perform, and micros is going to be how you feel. So within that, of course, we want to think about portion sizes. So regardless of like the holidays or traveling, whatever that is, like we can control quantity. We can control what we put into our mouth. In addition to that, after calories, I want you to prioritize protein. So make it a habit to try and include protein at every meal. If you're a snacker, at least have bigger protein options for your base meals. This doesn't have to be complicated. Like, I think we often think, oh my God, I don't know how to get protein. And it's like, if you eat meat, just eat more of it. I batch prep meat every Sunday and I have eggs for breakfast. Eggs in themselves are great, but they're not super high in protein. I will add maybe like a full fat whole yogurt or that plus maybe like 4 ounces or 5 ounces, 6 ounces of ground beef to my eggs. So I go from having about 10 grams of protein to about 60 grams of protein by adding things that I already eat, right? So um, think eggs at breakfast, chicken or beans at lunch, Greek yogurt for a snack. Protein supports muscle recovery and keeps you fuller longer. So anytime life gets hard and we start snacking and traveling and all these things, just know that we're going to make it worse by making like anytime we neglect protein, you'll find that you're just not satiated and hungry more. So protein, protein, protein. Um, Planning ahead, meal prep doesn't have to mean cooking an entire week's worth of food in one day. Even just prepping a few basics, like I said, like some ground meat, throwing some chicken in the crock pot, like having these in bulk and having them in the fridge makes it a lot easier when we're making meals to pull into that, right? So again, I would prefer whole foods. There's times, as you know, we have 2.5-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, we have picky eaters. One day maybe Bodhi wants mac and cheese and it's like, ugh, like I don't want to make him mac and cheese, make myself something different. I've tried a lot of times to make him the same thing as me. Like maybe, okay, tonight we're gonna have mac and cheese, but I'm going to add like 80% of that's going to be the meat that I already had in the fridge and then a little bit of mac and cheese. Like, and it also helps him eat more meat when he might not have chosen that otherwise. So there's these balances. Would I prefer mac and cheese for dinner? No, but like I get it. Like there, we have to make it work with what we have. And again, that's the exception, not the rule. So, but there are times that when life is hard or we had a like, we're busy or we're traveling and we don't have access to the foods we normally have, these little changes actually go a really long way. And like I said, it's all about balance. So aim for a mix of protein, healthy fats, and carbs at every meal. If you don't have protein in some of your snacks, just make sure that your like breakfast, lunch, and dinner or 2 meals a day have higher protein content. It's really going to help stabilize energy levels and keep you fueled for workouts. And as we know, mom life. Another thing that like gets overlooked is just water, like staying hydrated. A lot of times we like I would encourage you to drink like half, like 20 ounces of water and then assess if you're still hungry. A lot of times we're just dehydrated or thirsty and we think it's food. So, it can actually help curb cravings. It will improve energy. Like we're 80% water, our bodies. So just don't neglect that habit in terms of like long-term, like thinking of nutrition, and being flexible, right? So I understand this more than anybody, and I will always talk about it. So, life happens, vacations, birthday parties, days where you just don't feel like cooking. I get it. Like, I'm a coach, but I'm not perfect. I think that being perfect is understanding that we're not always perfect. Like, we have to adapt, and I get it. One meal or even one day won't derail you. It's, 1 pound of fat is 3,500 calories. A lot of times I have clients like after the weekend, they're like, I've gained 4 pounds. And it's like, no, you didn't. You would have had to have 3,500 calories times four plus your BMR, like your base calories to gain 4 pounds. A lot of that's just water weight, stress, like there's so much that goes into that. So anytime that we are traveling or life gets thrown off and you don't do as optimal one day, just know that it's one day. That's the exception, not the rule. So again, we're not going to be perfect with nutrition, but a way to continue to make this a lifelong thing is the consistency in it. Like show up where you can, prioritize things. The most important thing to remember is that nutrition is a journey. You might figure it out for the phase of life that you're in, and then life changes and you have to learn it again. But that's why learning the tools is so helpful because, regardless of what pops up, like maybe you have it all figured out, and then all of a sudden you get pregnant again and you have another kid, and we have this whole additional stress level. And what worked for us after one kid isn't now working for us after the second kid. But we learned the tools the first time along the way, and it's now going to serve us the second time, right? We might implement things a little bit differently, but at the end of the day, we know how to be consistent and utilize these tools again when this next phase of life happens. As we know, postpartum is forever. Um, it's not about quick fixes or strict rules. It's about creating habits that make you feel good, fuel your body, and support your goals for the long haul, right? So, every small step you take adds up. Again, it's that one foot in front of the other. It's that small ladder analogy where if my pegs are this far apart, it's going to be a lot easier to climb than when I have these like nutritional goals that are like here, right? Um, and give yourself grace along the way. I wish I would have done more of that myself. Being a mom is a lot. When you pop one tire, don't go and pop the other three, right? Like you fix the one tire. That in itself is taking action. You're being a doer, and you're giving yourself grace. You're not just self-sabotaging. Oh, my car's fucked because one of my tires blew out. No, you fix that tire and you move on, right? Like you made one bad meal choice. Like don't derail the whole rest of your day or week or holiday. You just move on. Um, but yeah, so anyways, I could talk forever about long-term nutrition habits. I just want you guys to, if you have one takeaway from this, it's you have to learn how to meet yourself where you're at. So when we want to think about seeing results long term, that lies with consistency. And anytime you're struggling with consistency, then I encourage you to ask yourself, what and like what are my goals too high and like what are they? Because I continue to fall short. So if you're not consistent, then we need to lower our goals so that we can consistently hit them and then build. That's with anything in life. When you go into the gym and you have progressive overload and you add like you the first time you walk into the gym, you're not just like loading a barbell, right? Like you have to maybe first do dumbbells, then you do just the barbell, then you add weight. You can't just start and then lift 200 pounds in a back squat, right? So it's the same thing with nutrition. Stop putting the cart before the horse and trying to do everything all at once. You need to start with one thing and then build. Keep it simple. And if you keep it simple, you'll stay consistent. And that's what's going to be important for the rest of your life. So, okay. That's my snippet on long-term nutrition habits. I hope that this was helpful. Again, there's a ton of resources throughout this course that you can go back and pull from. Anytime you're struggling, feel free to rewatch this video and just remember to give yourself grace. It's the journey. It's about the process, not the outcome, because the process is what sets you up forever.